Shalom, Apostle Hawk coming back at you with the truth, giving all praise to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakak Wadash. And I'm going to entitle this video, Concubine. What is it? Or concubine, what does it mean? Anyway, what I did was, there was a comment put up on a video that I did entitled Apostle Gabar, You Crazy? Laugh Out Loud. It's already received, I just put it up, it already received over 700 views. Basically, it's like clickbait. and this was a video that he put up addressing a comment that somebody had made concerning a woman, dealing with a woman. So I'm looking at the comments, laughing, and I come down to this comment. Shalom. This is from Cameron Wilson. Shalom, Apostle. So a concubine would be a chick you just have for sexual desires. So would that be the same as having a one-nighter with a girl and going to the next girl? Well, that one-nighter thing is played out. You can get a dreadful disease, a number of diseases from that. You just can't just get, nowadays, hell, back in the day, you just can't hop into bed and just have sex with a woman. And, like I said, it brings diseases. So I wouldn't do that, man. Anyway, it goes on to say, so no, a one-night stand is not a concubine. A concubine is a woman. Well, I'll go into it. It says, well, would I have to keep the same girl and not put her out to the streets, but use that same girl for sexual purposes? Then he said, or do you have video with more explanation? Well, I'm doing the video right now. Anyway, a GMS Sean Moth, he's the elder brother from Dallas, Texas, GMS, and he put a response to the comment. Anyway, it says a concubine is a wife through bondage, not just a sex slave. If we took down a nation, we would take, and I'm going to read the scripture on that in Deuteronomy, we would take their women after killing the men. Or you could get a concubine through a deal with her father. They performed the duties of a wife and helped forward the man's business house, but didn't get the same treatment as a free woman or woman. You actually have a ceremony, their marriage through agreement or contract. Right. A concubine is in a way of a wife, but she's of a lesser status than your actual wife. She could be a slave girl. And they did that in Israel. You had Israelite men sold their daughters to other Israelite men for various amounts of money. So she was a woman of a lower status. Like, for example, Hagar was the handmaid of Sarah, and it was Sarah that said to Abraham, "Go and live with my handmaid." So she was a concubine. And when Abraham didn't have no problem with that, because that's another woman. But then Sarah, having the nature of a woman, she got jealous of the fact that woman was laying with her husband, even though she offered the woman up. Women, their nature is they don't like it when other women are dealing with their man, so to speak, which they're going off. Because in our kingdom, we're going to have many women. Some of you brothers going to have as much as 1,000 women or more. I know I am. I'm going to have a whole lot of women. I'm going to have a whole lot of wives among Israelite women. I'm going to have a whole lot of concubines. Meaning women of different nations that you just pop and you deal with. Like there's a word called harem. Where you had, and that still goes on out there in the Middle East and certain parts of Africa, where they have women that are just there for the enjoyment of the man. Xerxes, from the movie 300, he was also known as Asuras. In the book of Esther, he had many women, and he was pleased by Esther, sexually. So in the kingdom, we're going to have that. Now, in this video, I said that you get a woman, you go on the web or whatever. I said, even if you got to get an Edomite woman, if you got an Edomite woman, now other camps are against this, but if you got an Edomite woman and she's happy being with you, and she can help you, whatever the situation is, but you got to be cool about that, man. You be driving around in some Edomite town with an Edomite woman, you might get killed. So you got to be careful if you're dealing with something like that, Hey, I see Edomite women every day. I be talking to them, and hey, if the opportunity arises, man, she ain't got no man, I'll deal with her. I'll deal with her. Because you can forget about the that particular woman. You can forget about her. She's out of the business, bro. She's out of the door. Don't even think about her. She's nothing but trouble. Anyway, let's go to Google. Okay, Google, you put in concubine. In the scriptures, the word paramour also comes up. Anyway, it says, in polygamous societies, a woman who lives with a man but has lower status than his wife or wives. So the difference between, and it gives you the word mistress, paramour, kept woman, a doxy. I never heard of that. Let me click on that. What's a doxy? A doxy is a
doxy.
A doxy is a woman. Oh, it says a lover or mistress, a prostitute. Now, when you go to the scriptures, you had various Israelite men had mistresses, had doxies, and had prostitutes, man. Now, this is not accepted in this society. But men did that back then, and men do it today. When you read about Solomon having 1,000 women, 700 wives, and 300 concubines, some of those wives were actually Edomites and women of the other nation, because they were of higher status. Like you had Egyptian women that were the daughters of a pharaoh or of a man of higher ranking. So he had to actually marry that woman. He couldn't make her a concubine because she was of a particular status. So now I went into the word concubine itself, and concubine comes up 22 times and 21 verses in the New Testament. And I might read a couple of them. And it even tells you that you had concubines, you had children with your concubines. So what is a concubine? A paramour, that's another name for a concubine. A mistress, a prostitute, a woman of a lower status. It says here in Genesis 35 verse 22, and it came to pass when Israel, which is Jacob, dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard it, or Jacob heard it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. Now that was the firstborn son of Jacob, or Israel, which was Reuben. Ra'aban, see, it's a son. And he lost that status because he lay with his father's concubine. Because when you go into the history of Jacob, he had Leah and Rachel, and they had their handmaids that he was having sex with, and some of the tribes came out of either of these women that were handmaidens or concubines to Jacob. Let me go to Judges 19 verse 1. And it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. So this is a woman that he got with, and he was just popping. And it was like it was his wife, but she was of a lower status. Okay, let me read this here. Judges 19 verse 24. I want to go up a couple of verses. This goes into that same story. I don't want to read the whole chapter. I'll start from 22. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, these were Benjamites that had the devil on them, beset the house round about, and beat at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. So when you read the story, these were Benjaminites. Some of the Benjaminites was into, having sex with men. And these are Israelites. Now, this guy that did the video, ex-sodomite, yeah, I was shy. He should take that name down. He was probably one of them guys. He basically said that he's into men. He's not into women. And it says these guys was sons of Belial. So you got the devil on you, man. Anytime you look at a man and you got feeling for a man, but you don't got feeling for a woman, and you a man, you got the devil on you, man. Okay, the word is Balya Yael. It says worthlessness, worth, good for nothing, unprofitable, base fellow, wicked, because he got the devil in him, ruin, destruction, construct, without benefit, profit, compared to be useful. And this is a guy, there's a law where it says if you have a stubborn son, let me go ahead and get this. If you have a stubborn son that when he reaches the age of 12, he's supposed to go out on his own at the age of 12. That's why the Lord went out on his own at the age of 12. Bear me for a minute. I don't have no lights in here. I gotta put the light on. Bear me. I just want to get that scripture up and I want to read it. Okay, it says, Deuteronomy 21 verse 18. It says, and this is the law, if a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father, and this is when the son becomes of the age of accountability, or right before that time, when he's 11, 12 years old, you're supposed to be training your son, whatever craft that you're in, and I'm also training him up in the law. And part of the law, he's supposed to go out on his own. You know, get a wife, work for another Israelite for 7 years. And then after that 7-year period, that Israelite that's over him, which will be called a master, will give him enough substance so he can start his own business. So normally, you would have a boy that's about 12 years old. He moves out of his parents' house. He stays with his master, which could be another Israelite, for 7 years. So by the time he's 19 years old, he's established. Anyway, it says, if a man have a stubborn and rebellious son, which will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and that when they have chastened him, will not hearken unto them, then shall his father and his mother lay hold on him and bring him out unto the elders of his city and unto the gate of his place. And they shall say unto the elders of the city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton. He want to eat all day, and a drunkard. Now in today's society, you might have a kid of a certain age that plays video games all day and eat up all your goddamn food. He ain't trying to get his life together. It says, and all the men of the city shall stone him with stones, that he die, so that thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. So that's a law right there. These guys got all messed up about the rape doctrine. Well, what about this? If you have a son that grows up to be about 12 years old, he don't want to get his life together, according to the law, you're supposed to go, the parents are supposed to go to the father and the mother go to the judges, and they'll say, well, all he want to do is sit around and eat all day. He don't want to do nothing. What's the penalty for that? That's a sin unto death. You put his ass to death. And you got a lot of boys out here that are in that situation, man. I see it every day. Jake, these young men, they're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, and they're like wild, they're wild beasts. They're wild beasts. And they're supposed to be put to death. That's according to the law. So that's what these guys were. These guys in, let me bring it back. Okay, I don't know if I lost it. Okay, there was a 22nd verse that said these men, certain men are sons of Belial, beset the house. So these guys was just doing their own thing. These were grown men. They were bums. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to listen to their parents. And their parents refused to take them to the judges to be stoned to death. So this is what you have. You got men, I see this like every fucking day. You got men that are in their 30s and their 40s with their pants hanging off their ass, man. You know that nigga ain't about nothing. Somebody like that in this ancient world would be put to death, man. So these Benjaminites that were stubborn boys whose parents didn't put them to death or get them stoned to death, they grew up to be stubborn, gluttonous, and they became homosexuals, man. It says, and I'm gonna get back into the subject of concubine, but this kind of is a part of it. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them and said unto them, Nay, my brother, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly, seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. And this was the man, that the priest that had the concubine. 24th verse, behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, meaning a virgin, and his concubine, them I will bring out now, and humble ye them. And the word humble is the word Ainah. Goes back to Deuteronomy 22nd chapter. See, you grow in these scriptures and you understand these scriptures when you go to the root words, the etymology of the word, the root of the word. Humble ye them. So he said, look, don't grab this man and rape him. If you want, you can rape my daughter and his concubine, and do with them what seemeth good unto you, but unto this man do not so vile a thing. So this particular man honored this man. When somebody's in your household, you protect that person while he's in your household, man. And you can read the rest of the story. You know, these, like I said, these guys were homosexuals, man. And over this situation with these demons, these demon-filled Israelites, this caused almost the whole tribe of Benjamin to be done away with. There was, 400 men left? All the women were destroyed, killed. All the children were destroyed. There were no babies. And the majority of the men were destroyed. There were only 400 men left. And they made vows not to have their daughters marry the Benjaminites. So they had to go to this dance in Shiloh. You know, you read this story, you get the whole thing. And what did they do? They grabbed those women up. They grabbed them by force. So you guys get simple and dumb and ignorant because you really don't understand the scriptures and you're going by the mores or the morals of this society. You mixing the morals of this society, comparing it to the morals of the ancient world. Ancient world was totally different, man. Anyway, let's go back. Yeah, the word concubine comes up a bunch of times in Judges. Or it speaks here in First Corinthians. I'm sorry, First Chronicles. Okay, it says here in First Chronicles 2 verse 46, and Ephah, Caleb's concubine, which that meant she was of another nation. If she was an Israelite, she would be his wife. Bear Haran and Moza and Gazez, and Haran begat Gazez. It says, goes on to say, Matcha. There's another concubine. Caleb's concubine bear Sheber and Terana. So that shows you right there that these brothers, these Israelites, had women of other nations and which were concubines, that they actually, these women had gave birth to their children. Now, when you go to Deuteronomy 21, let me get that. Deuteronomy. Wait a minute. Deuteronomy 21. It says this, Deuteronomy 21 verse 10. When thou goest forth to war against the enemies, who are the enemies? The enemies are any nation outside of Israel. So we're talking about other nations. And Yahweh the Most High have delivered them, these other nations, into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. And wife just means woman. She was of a lower status than, if this man had 3 Israelite wives, this wife from another nation would be considered a concubine, a paramour. Then thou shalt bring her home to thine house against her will, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails. And she shall put the remnant of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thine house, and bewail her father and mother a full month, and after that thou shalt go in unto her, have sex with her, whether she likes it or not. Now the law is you can't touch her for 30 days, for a month, for a moon cycle, which is actually 29.5 days. And be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. So now when you go to Matter of fact, let me get to that. Let me get to that. Bear with me for a minute. Oh boy. Bear with me for a minute. Okay, I'm going to read the reference on the account of King Solomon. It says, but King Solomon loved many strange women. It says strange women, meaning women of the other nations, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, which are Canaanites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, ye shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you, for surely, but we just read, if you have a concubine in the kingdom, we're going to have concubines. We're going to have women of the other nations. But he wasn't supposed to marry them. And these women, these concubines, you don't fall in love with them. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. So what is the difference between a wife and a concubine? A status, because he said 700 wives, princesses, which they were of these Moabite women, these Egyptian, so-called Egyptian women. It says together with the first verse, together with the daughter of Pharaoh. So the daughter of Pharaoh at that time, she had a status of her father being a ruler. And the Moabite woman that he married, their fathers had a high status. Ammonite, Edomites. But he wasn't supposed to marry them. They were supposed to be concubines. And I just read not a little earlier that you had Israelite men had concubines, and they had children by way of their concubines. Two of the women that had children through Jacob, those were concubines, handmaids. It says, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Yeah, because he was. The Lord says, "Do not multiply to thyself wives. Do not multiply to thyself horses." That's in Deuteronomy. I believe that's Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter. Anyway, I'm not going to go to it, but you can put it in the comment section. But anyway, the reason why the Lord said that, so when you go into the land and you set ye up a king, and that king's not supposed to multiply horses and not to multiply wives, because what was that going to do? He was going to get into them women and get into them whatchamacallit, the the goodies, so to speak. And that's why kings became corrupt and wicked, because they had high power seats and they had whatever they wanted. And even David, it said that that he was going to take out of you certain of your sons to fight in his wars, certain daughters to be make pastries for him, confectioners, cooks. And he did that. And what happens when you do that? You get complacent. You don't do the will of the Most High. And that's why we got to struggle even to this day. Anyway, I think I said enough. This is open to the comment board and open to other videos coming out of this, because these brothers don't understand. You got to understand everything, man. You got to understand that the way we're living now compared to the way we were living back then is a completely different world. If you were able to get into a time machine and go back to that time, you wouldn't be able to deal with it, man. You wouldn't be able to deal with it. It's a totally the men were a lot tougher and stronger, and had stronger minds. You had to be a rough individual and a strong-minded individual to be in that time. We became weaker. Our stature became shorter. We're really not men. I mean, we're men, but we're not men like the ancient men. It's a totally different world, man. And the way they looked at their woman was a totally different way that we look at our woman, man. You get with a certain woman, you fall in love with the woman, and that's what Solomon did, but he did that when he became old. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. On to the next one.